it is now time for Tax Dialogue. Last time we talked about domestic revenue mobilization, what NPP's strategy was going to be next year. Today we'll be looking at NDC's strategy to get more revenue domestically, because in order for the country to grow, we need to get as much revenue as we can get. Of course, we have with us Geoffrey Okanse, who is the Executive Director of Revenue Mobilization Africa. Throughout our conversation, if you have any questions or comments, let us know with the hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line 0550-585832. If you're outside Ghana, use the country code +233. And of course, we're thankful to Oxfam for making this possible. Good morning, Geoffrey.
Good morning, Jeff.
How are you?
Thanks for having me. It's been a very good morning to all your viewers and to Oxfam, like you rightly said, to RMA. We are also there. To City FM, you are loud in everything we're doing and you're making it open to everybody else to have access. It will amaze you how many people call me sometimes on the sites and ask simple questions about taxes because of this platform. Yeah. And we also have to loud the work of the collectors. Those who are paying taxes as well. Yeah. They all make it happen, you know. So I think it's a good morning.
Now, domestic revenue mobilization, how crucial is that to our development?
When you look at every other thing we are looking out for, in development circles, we want to have roads, schools, health facilities. All these things are based on how much you have. After planning, after putting everything on the papers, you need the revenue, the money to do it. If you look at our revenue situation, as a country, almost every other sector you call Ghana, into education, into health, in agric, we would generate some revenues from here, but we depend too much on donor funding. And I think you would have economic nationalism to lead your stronghold to call yourself independent. Yeah. If you are an independent country, you should economically also be independent, so that you can take decisions. If you have to rely on other countries, then you have to be playing it in for everybody to decide some things for you, So you look at the decisions we've taken as a country sometimes in our decisions, like even when you come to our trade circles, sometimes the decisions we've taken has been, hijacked a little bit, if you allow me the word, by the fact that another big brother outside will not be comfortable with our arrangement economically. Yeah. So I think if we're able to generate the revenues from internal sources and also stimulate the economy, so that there will be a lot of activities, business activities in the country, we'll generate and collect a lot of it and be independent economically as well.
So historically, what has been some of the strategies we've used to mobilize revenue domestically, and how do we improve upon those moving forward?
We've done the granting incentive to businesses, and then also monitoring and then expanding our operation system and collection systems, and then also improving the systems. And that over time has helped, right down from the days when we're young, we're seeing Lampo collectors around. They collect money from our mothers and our fathers in the market circles. And also we think that's the process, and that's how it's been like. But there's been improvements over time, where people can now, pay their taxes through digitized systems. Now people can get informations and billings through their systems from the GRA. And I think the centers have moved a bit closer to people, but there still exists some challenges anyway,
Yeah, and the last time we heard from the Vice President, well, this is the NPP, he mentioned that institutions like the Ghana Tourism Authority were now able to close some of the gaps because they were receiving monies virtually. Right. How do we adapt some of these policies to our strategies moving forward before we even get to the NDC and what they're going to be doing?
Well, I think the digitized platform is a very wonderful platform that as a country we've taken that leap step, And the previous administration also had the Accra Digital Center,
yes.
So all these efforts, and then the current government also moved it to the next level. I think that's what we have to be doing as a country. We're doing very good with it. Once you don't need people to travel. Look, large taxes, I always say, if somebody has to pay large tax and it will come from all the way Tamale to Accra to come and pay, that takes a lot of delay and stress. I have to leave my work from Kaneshie and come all the way to maybe main circle branch to pay. If there are systems where I can pay hashtag something and then I dial and I can move the money through the phone system, it's an improved system. But there's a need to also put security systems in place, because once you lump onto the digital platform, there are insecurities over there, and we need to be careful.
So what are some of the tax irregularities issues that we need to solve? Because last time we talked about that being a big problem aside cutting down on expenditure.
When you talk about the irregularities, there exists a lot. There has been the issues where refunds have cash has been issued from the generic offers, which were not for refunds actually, and then we have questions about it. You've had people. Money's being paid at the assembly level into people's personal accounts. These are all irregularities that are not proper. So if you have all these going on, these are things that will weigh a lot on the revenues that we've collected. And when you span a period from 2015 to 2019, we lost about 8 billion Ghana cedis through cash irregularities, and this is problematic enough.
So what incentives should we look at giving the people who will still need to streamline this virtual platforms? If we're going to say we're going to close some of these loopholes, the person who will be manning it, how do we ensure that they still won't find their way around it to take some of the monies?
Well, if you talk about the collections via the digital systems, it's about just empowering the staff that are going to be monitoring these systems, and they're going to get their salaries anyway. So these are government officials, so they get their salaries. You just have to keep them trained and well, more motivated. Motivation shouldn't always be like giving the person cash or something to put in the mouth or something like that. It should be an encouragement, the equipment they need. And when you love your job, when the environment is actually complete. When I talk about complete environment, I mean the basic necessities. I mean constant power supply, good machines, effective working space. You don't crumple people in one place working on the computers. I mean, they need some laxity, some space. They also need some comfort, some air conditions around. Some of the public offices where you go,
it's very bad.
Here, it's not the good place you want to work. Okay. Sometimes the environment you work in, and then also the monitoring systems in place would help us collect a lot.
Okay, now to the main issue that we're addressing today, the NDC.
Right.
What are they saying they're going to do as far as domestic revenue mobilization is concerned?
They look at tax cuts for jobs. They look at for small-scale businesses. They want to exempt them from taxes from the start. And then they think that will stimulate their activities. They also looked at exempting commercial vehicles from taxes. Okay. They believe that these are coming to stimulate activities within the commercial sector. They also looked at reviewing the Customs Amendment Act, that has actually bans the importation of these vehicles that, our brothers that are so kind were really, really against such a thing.
But slow down for us. You mentioned the small-scale businesses. How are they going to do that? Because we know that majority of the businesses within the informal sector are micro to small scale, and historically, they've not been paying taxes anyway. So how is this going to incentivize them to do the right thing?
Well, they're talking about the newly established ones. Those ones that are going to be established, they would actually give them these incentives, as a way of giving them a start, kind of a push. So they are going to be giving them, for specifically to say corporate income tax, they are going to win them off and then look at from 25%, they work it down to 15%.
Wow.
And then they go down to talk about newly established, medium-sized. And then they also said they were going to give them some form of incentive if you have more than 20 staffs.
Do you think that's enough reason for someone who's currently not paying taxes to say, okay, if I'm getting a reduced tax rate, let me now finally start, if I want to start a new business, for instance, because it's convenient for someone to say, I won't pay at all because 25% is too high.
Well, this was, like I rightly said, for new establishments.
Exactly.
But those who are actually in the system already, there are means, like I told you, improving the tax system, just to get closer to them, and then improving your collection systems will be for them. But for those who are now establishing, this is the incentive that they've put in place to encourage them. Those who actually will employ about 20 people. But your question also should look at also what area. Is it 20 people? So if you and I establish a business and we employ 5 security persons, 8 drivers, we might have employed about 20 people, but at what level? Their income levels might not even reach the minimum income wage threshold for the country. So these are some of the things we should. Are we going to be looking at that while we count the people, or just that we count the number of heads, as in 20 or 50 people have been employed, and then the person passes for such an incentive?
Especially now that we're going into a digitized world, 2 people can start a business and make way more revenue than someone who has 20 people. So will there be issues with that? as far as measuring the size of these
we've
businesses?
always spoken about the tax systems on the digital platforms.
Yeah.
That's an area we should really look at as a country. A lot of people are doing virtual businesses as we go forward. Especially when the COVID period hit the table, a lot of people, if you have to send me a design of your own, and I am a graphic designer, or anything to design your website for you and manage it for you, I can just grab about 6,000 or 5,000 from you.
Just like that.
And if I have 6 companies that I'm consulting for, that person makes 30,000 cedis on the digitized platform, and paying taxes will not come from that person if we don't make an effort to meet the person halfway. I have always said, let us not also be prejudiced about this thing and think that people intentionally want to run away from paying taxes. It's about making a move to go to the people.
Yeah.
We have to move to them, explain things to them, get them on a platform, and get to tax them.
Okay.
That should be the effort.
What else are they saying?
They also talked about going to provide taxes and incentives for indigenous value chain industries.
Okay.
That is one passionate area for me, actually. I look at an industry like construction, agriculture, and you look at hospitality industry. If you provide these incentives, they believe that they will stimulate activities within the sector and then produce that outcome that people get employed. Companies will also make profits per what they are thinking.
Yeah.
Now, take the agri sector alone. Look, Jifa, cocoa, gold. We've been there with this major extractive industry. We bring them out, but when you look at the value chain, value addition chain, Ghana will end up about 20% or 10%, because you plant, you harvest the beans, you put them into sacks, and that's where it ends. When it gets to Europe, let's say for the Switzerland, where they're going to make the chocolates, it's a whole industry, man. They're going to make some beans. The beans, they're going to put it through a process. They're going to get these people who are going to put the wrappers on, the whole chocolate manufacturing, marketing. All these things are going to happen out there. So in a system of about 100%, we do about just 30% value addition, and then we export it to the ports, and it goes to another country for people to get employed along that chain. So if you boost that area, I would like to see more of their talking to show us how they are going to bring the companies to actually take advantage of producing in the chain.
And speaking of the agri sector, you know that some of the finished products, we import them back into the country. So should they also be looking at perhaps tariffs on these products, or subsidizing the local manufacturers so that the price points will be more affordable for the Ghanaian consumer?
Wonderful economic nationalism drive you are talking about here. You need to actually start something locally. Okay, so if I got you right, if there was a company that was actually manufacturing, let's say chocolate in Ghana, that is cocoa, but they do that over here. So you put high taxes on the ones that are produced from outside, to actually discourage, and then do a lot of promo for them, the Ghanaians, to actually eat the chocolate. But the pricing is a problem.
Exactly.
So you have to check the pricing. When you put more taxes on the ones that are being imported, that means when they come into the country, the cost will be higher. And then you can put a challenge into it. But when you go to only understanding that the World Trade Organization, they have a rule that gives the local, especially middle income and low income countries, to advantageously play that rule to the advantage of their citizens who are producing. We are not taking advantage of these ones, because if you don't take advantage of it, what happens is that it will be like you put the giraffe and the goat on the same platform for them to go for a hanging fruit. Look, it's a level playing field, but then the giraffe will always have the advantage. So if you play by the strict rule of the WTO, they know why they give the advantage to those middle income countries and the low income countries.
We'll continue the conversation, but we do have to go for a break now. We are discussing the National Democratic Congress Domestic Revenue Mobilization strategies. If you have any questions for us, let us know with the hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line 0550-585832. And of course, this conversation is made possible by Oxfam. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Breakfast Daily on City TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. And we're discussing tax dialogue, NDC strategy to get more revenue domestically. Joe Fiokanse is still here with us. And will please tell us how NDC plans on dealing with revenue losses.
Right. So they state clearly that they were going to revisit the Ghana's international tax policy to protect the tax base, and profit shifting will be minimized. That's what they are talking about, transfer pricing.
Okay.
They also spoke about developing Ghana's tax treaty negotiating manual, as in when you're going to any negotiation for about this tax issues like waivers and incentives and exemptions, they would actually get a manual for that one. They also will strengthen Ghana's tax treaties and eliminate transfer pricing.
Nice.
Then finally, they talk about equipping a new center with experts to specifically handle international tax-related issues. So these are things that they think about putting in place so that they can be able to effectively and efficiently manage some of the losses that may come with tax exemptions and incentive management. Then they also spoke about the one place that really took me on was when they actually looked at the policy to protect the tax base and profit shifting.
Okay.
Transfer
What's
pricing. Profit shifting is actually you have a company. So Ghana becomes the host country. So the multinational enterprise is the company that is coming in.
Okay.
They have a home country. And then they have a mother institution there. So they come and invest in your country as, let's say, company A. Now they have a mother institution, company B, out there in their home country. Quickly when they come and invest in your country, when they make profits,
they send it, right?
They don't just send it like quick send money that you can see that like that. They might need some equipment. They will have to buy some inputs for their operations. Now, let's say if the equipment is 7 cedis.
Yes.
Their mother company will be selling it at 20 cedis.
Wow.
And then they'll go and buy it from their mother company. Maybe if you compare to other prices in the world, you get a thing sold at 8 or 9 cedis. They buy it from their mother company at 15 cedis. And that's genuine business. And so they actually bring the quotations and then they buy from their mother company.
But then the money's leaving.
They transfer all the monies out there, and that's transfer pricing. That's how cool they kill it with us. So you actually have to really set up and then look at that area and then manage. Transfer pricing is actually one of the issues that takes a lot of profits that we're supposed to make. This is what they are doing. When they do that, they reduce their profits because they use most of the money to buy these equipment that they need. And then let's say if they were supposed to clearly record about 20,000 cedis, now they'll be recording about 12,000 cedis. That's reducing the profits, and then you have to be taxing 12,000 cedis instead of 20,000 cedis.
Wow.
You get it. Actually, so if you manage all this, it's also proper. Now, like the Free Zones Enclave, when they were talking about having boards in place to regulate and a center for this regulation, what you can do about this is that then you can properly manage your exemption systems. And then also you look and monitor very well. So I think it's a very clear thing. They said we would be looking up to implementation.
Okay. Now, what's their tax exemption policies, the NDC?
Their exemptions is guided by the philosophy that they were actually going to grant incentives to these companies with the aim and the hope that these companies are going to stimulate the economy with what they've gotten, and then they actually would grant employment to a lot of the Ghanaians. And then also when they work, then both happen. What will happen first is companies make more profit to expand, and then individuals, a lot of people get employed. Then the government will in turn sit back and then tax the activities of these companies, and then also tax the profits of the employees, So that's where they base it. But that's where we also look at caution, because based on this premise, we come on this note that no, we need to rethink. And I'm glad they said they are going to set the center. If we were going to be dealing with them next year, we were going to sit down and tell them, look, flashback and look at these 3 areas. The 3 major reasons why investors come into our country is because of 1, security. 2, we have the raw materials and quality raw materials. Compare Ghana gold to Liberian gold, and you will see that we have the quality gold. Even cocoa, between Ghana cocoa and Ivory Coast cocoa, they always say that we have the quality cocoa. So the person that is coming to Ghana is coming because you have quality raw materials. And then finally, the third area that they look at is cheap labor and then quality labor, skilled labor. So we need to focus in these 3 areas, set ourselves well, keep and maintain our security, which we are enjoying. Make sure we also look at the raw materials, they are safe, we don't destroy them, and then properly manage our raw materials. And then the third area is looking at the labor. We have to train a lot of people, skilled labor, so that we don't get people coming to our country, operate, and then they will employ a lot of our people, but then at a low base. So I think these are the 3 major areas that people look at before they come into your country to invest. So we should shift away from just granting these incentives. We are not against incentives, but we are saying going back to the table, we should rather front these 3, that we have good security here, we have quality raw materials, we have skilled labor back here that are going to be available to you, and we use these 3 guns plus a lot more to negotiate for better terms.
We know that we're still dealing with a pandemic, so how does that change what we would negotiate for?
To our advantage.
How so?
Wonderful. To our advantage. in this period, we're granting you incentives. But look, in next year, globally, there's going to be a downturn for profit making. So, but Ghana, IMF has said it, Minister of Finance has said it. Truth is that our collection will go down. Okay, so we need to do a lot for next year and tell these companies that are coming in, let's renegotiate. It's all about negotiation. It's a big brother affair. Most of these multinational enterprises are muscled. You know, you are talking about a company, but some of them, the budgets that they are running is more than about 3 or 4 ministries in Ghana put together, their budget. So, you know, these are companies that have the muscle to pay taxes. I think we should rather look at good point. Let's look at even deferring their payment of taxes. So that instead of saying that you are exempted from taxes for 9 years, like under the free zones arrangement, we should rather say, you know what, we'll give you 4 or 5 years for you to defer payment of your taxes without interest. It will be proper to do that one. Then when I've spoken about these exemptions, let me focus on free zones for just a second.
Yes. Free
zones. Look, Jifa, one of the reasons that we make losses in that area is that the laws over there, we have a porous system. There's been history of countries investing in the free zones area, and they've operated for 9 years. When it's about a year to go for the 10th year for them to start paying taxes, then they change ownership of the company, they register in another name, and then they operate. So they actually run away from paying taxes. It is not tax actually that they're evasion, but it's tax avoidance. They avoid to pay tax by just rearranging themselves and getting another group to take over.
Wow.
So let's watch it very well and then make sure we put in place what I call the exit tax. After enjoying the 9 years, if you decide, I'll decide I'll give it to Jifa to own it now. For that first 9 years, we should tax them and let whoever is taking over or the old company that operated to pay that exit tax of 9 years. And I think that will be proper.
Okay. So the last time we talked about not just looking at revenue mobilization, but cutting down on expenditure and also solving some of these leakages that come when we find out the auditor's report is out. How is the NDC going to deal with this?
Well, you realize that they spoke clearly that they were going to put a center in place and actually manage all this. But we have some options for them.
Okay.
We look at cutting down expenditure. You know, for example, if we need some vehicles to use for a ministry, and it should be a 4x4 vehicle because of where they might want to reach. Look at the cost. We should look at cost very well. If a Nissan Patrol will cost, let's say, 10,000 cedis, and the Land Cruiser will cost 15,000 cedis, quality-wise, the both of them can stand the test of time. Let's look at cost and cut down to the 10,000 cedis one.
Okay.
I mean, these are some of the things we have to be doing. We have to look at cutting down government expenditure. It's very important. It's very, very critical.
And they just recently said they were going to bring out some Faninina policy for the year 2021 for students.
Oh, that's another one. The education
bit. Or do you think that's a sector that we should just allow?
I would run away from it. But if you want me to stay there, I can stay and explain a little bit for you. Like, when you look, I am a proponent of our scholarship systems properly targeted.
Okay.
Look, why do you grant scholarship to a student who is going to study? I'm not saying don't give scholarship to a student to study outside. But there's a guide that give it to a student who is going to study a specific course that none of the universities in this country, Ghana, offers. So, for example, let's say a petroleum course, which we don't offer in any of the universities here, and it's critical for our petroleum industry. If you give funding to that one, it passes. But look through the scholarship that were granted. You realize courses that are actually offered in Ghana, people are giving grants to go outside this country to offer. Meanwhile, look, when you look at their feeding cost alone, their housing, it can pay for about 100 students' fees in Ghana.
But what about domestically? Like, let's say NDC said for the next 1 year, for
all first-year students. So I was actually telling you,
absolutely,
if you
should it be targeted more?
Properly targeted.
Okay.
If you cut down on, I mean, it's first of all, wipe out all scholarship that are going to offer courses outside Ghana, that they have courses in Ghana that would cover that one. And make sure you use that money to pay for students who are actually applying and schooling in Ghana.
So that you cut cost.
That's actually a domestication.
Okay.
They have to domesticate the scholarship scheme as well. And also check through and make sure they cut some of the beneficiaries. Look, just a few months ago, we saw on the report of the GET Fund ministers and officials receive it. Jifa, look, don't.
Let's not go there.
I get so worried.
Let's not go there.
You see, let's properly target it well.
Okay.
I mean, there's a poor student sitting somewhere, and then you give these monies. I'm not saying, look, we all deserve to enjoy something from Ghana. But when you are coming to an Oxfam corner from where I belong, we look at bridging the gap. You know, the inequalities that exist now. We need to bridge the gap between the rich and poor, the poverty gap. How do you end up always giving? Look at this water that was given for free. I keep saying, look, properly target this thing, because the truth is that some of us want, others need. My brothers and sisters are Alubushi. They need the water.
Yeah, so we need.
I want, if you grant it for me for free, I want it, but I don't need it.
Okay,
I can pay.
Finally, what other alternatives should the NDC consider?
Cut down waste, cut down on corruption. That is where we looked at the cash irregularities and then the tax irregularities. Then properly target, especially during this COVID time, this sharings that we're doing in water, we did with the electricity as well.
Still casting down on expenditure.
And then explore the options of collecting the property taxes.
Okay.
You know, accelerate work on that area. We are collecting it, but we expand it. Go onto them and get the monies. And then also focus on the rent taxes. Look, a lot of people are going into the construction industry to build buildings and then rent them out. We need to tax all those people who are renting their buildings out because they are making profit. That is a business they are doing. And then we go to the next place. Let's also look at an area where we look at the night and dawn economy. From infancy, Osuma night market has been there. Second night market will be there. I mean, go to Domi, the dawn people who bring their goods and then they spread their goods, they make profits. Look, I keep telling and cautioning you with this one. Not all of them are running away from paying taxes. Madam, that is the time they bring their goods. And they
engaging them where they are.
Engage them. Get a task force that will go and meet them, discuss with them, and they will want to pay. Look at other options of these carpenters and artisans, skilled workers, who work in the construction sector, but they are actually privately working. A mastercraft person will charge for roofing a building 30,000 cedis. If he does that and gets about a contract of 3, that's 90,000 Ghana cedis for Christ's sake. And he makes that profit. And if you don't go and meet him, why are you going to meet him? You go to the construction site and meet them. Let the companies know and sign on that every contract they are giving will come back and know who roofed this building, what was the cost of it, and tax it. That is the easiest way we can make our taxes available to ourselves. And then the final one I'll look at is sin taxes. Look, put taxes. There are taxes on healthy products like alcohol and tobacco and the rest of sugary products. But look, during this COVID, you remember when the president rightly said, backed by science, scientists themselves said it, and it's proving that, look, most of the people who were dying, about 80% or more of the people had underlying diseases. That's people living with non-communicable diseases. Okay, if this is the truth, and we believe in it, that's the truth, proving clearly, truth is that all we have to do is use the double-edged sword. Increase the taxes on these products. When you've done that, automatically you increase revenue for the country. Second is that you reduce consumption of these products and make sure that we make something for the country. Companies in this game will ask you and tell you they are employing people. Example, shift to where healthy products can be produced. COA was producing things that will boost our immune system. Shift to that area. Look, Kasapreku tuned to where they were producing
sanitizers.
It was possible. So choose healthy products, and rather when you do that, we'll give you incentives. And let's look at passing the tax exemptions bill. Pass the exemptions bill. It is that bill that will regulate the exemptions that we grant. We are not against exemptions, but we're saying let's properly do it. And how do you properly do it? First of all, pass the exemptions bill. It will regulate how we grant exemptions. Government granted 6 million Ghana cedis exemptions without going through Parliament. Once there's no bill, some of these things will go on. And then finally, if you permit me.
Of course, I'll permit you, Joe.
You know, I have a very horrible voice. but I tell you this. I want to sing to Ghana and say that.
Okay, sing to us.
Asumje, asumje, twenjola he. Look, people of Ghana, we need peace. I mentioned security. It is because of security that somebody will come and invest in our country. Because of the security that prevails here, that's why we have businesses thriving. And we'll have all the time to do business and make money. Let's have peace. It is all about ballots, not bullets. Ghana, let's maintain the peace we've enjoyed. The best legacy we can have for President Rawlings is to maintain the Fourth Republic that he gave birth to. May his soul rest in peace. Look, let's all end with one thing after the elections. God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey Okanse.
Thank you very much, Sifa.
It's always a pleasure having you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Geoffrey is the Executive Director of Revenue Mobilization Africa. And if you've learned anything at all, it is that as a nation, whether it is NPP's strategy for domestic revenue mobilization or NDC's strategy for domestic revenue mobilization, we need to cut down on expenditure. We need to fix those leakages, right? We need to pass the tax exemption bill, and we need to get serious about widening the tax net so that we can take care of ourselves. And of course, this conversation has been made possible by Oxfam. Hi there. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends.
This is Breakfast Daily on City TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on City TV.